On April 26, 2025, the world bid farewell to one of the most impactful figures of the 21st century, Pope Francis. His funeral was a moment of profound reflection, both for Catholics and non-Catholics alike, as people from all walks of life gathered to honor the pontiff whose tenure was marked by compassion, global engagement, and a unique vision for the future of the Church. The death of Pope Francis left a hole in the heart of the Catholic Church, yet his legacy is one that will endure far beyond the walls of the Vatican. His leadership was defined not just by his papal office, but by his deep personal connection to the world around him. Throughout his papacy, Pope Francis consistently reminded us of the importance of humility, kindness, and the need to look out for those less fortunate. His legacy is one of service, both to the Church and the wider world. The funeral service itself took place in St. Peter's Square, a space often used for monumental events, but this one was deeply personal. It wasn't just the gathering of dignitaries and world leaders. It was the collective grieving of a global community that had been shaped, inspired, and uplifted by Pope Francis's words and deeds. The somber ceremony was not only a celebration of his life, but a reflection on the role he played in shaping the course of history. For the people who loved him, Pope Francis was more than a spiritual leader. He was a beacon of hope in an increasingly divided world. His leadership was centered on inclusivity, a message that resonated deeply in an era defined by political polarization and social inequality. His calls for action on climate change, his advocacy for the poor and marginalized, and his embrace of refugees were all hallmarks of a papacy that sought to make the world a better place for everyone, regardless of their background or beliefs. The funeral was attended by countless heads of state, religious figures, and others whose lives had been touched by Pope Francis's work. These leaders, who represented nations and causes across the globe, came together to offer their final respects. It was a powerful symbol of the Pope's role as a unifier on the world stage, not just a figurehead of the Catholic Church, but a champion for humanity as a whole. His ability to reach out to people of different faiths, cultures, and backgrounds made him one of the most respected figures of his time. As Pope Francis's funeral procession moved forward, the presence of these global figures highlighted just how far his influence had stretched. He was not only revered by Catholics, but by people of all faiths. Pope Francis's unique ability to address the world's most pressing issues with both spiritual wisdom and practical solutions set him apart from many other leaders. From the fight against climate change to his tireless advocacy for social justice, Pope Francis remained steadfast in his belief that the Church had a critical role to play in addressing these global challenges. The funeral mass was a deeply emotional event, reflective of the tone of Pope Francis's papacy. It was a reminder of his emphasis on simplicity and humility, traits that were reflected not only in his personal life, but also in his approach to leadership. While many would expect grand gestures from a leader of his stature, Pope Francis kept things grounded. His funeral, which was dignified yet restrained, captured the essence of who he was. A man of the people, for the people, who never sought personal glory, but always worked toward a higher cause. Pope Francis's vision for the Church was one that embraced reform and inclusion. His calls for a more open and accepting Church were met with resistance by some, but resonated deeply with others. His papacy was marked by a focus on reforming Church doctrine, advocating for economic justice and pushing for a world where every person's dignity was upheld, no matter their background. His message of hope and unity was one that transcended religious boundaries and reached the hearts of many. The funeral procession itself was an event steeped in both tradition and personal reflection. The ceremony included prayers, hymns, and eulogies. But it was not only the ceremonial elements that made this farewell special. It was the deep sense of connection that Pope Francis had cultivated among the people he served. It was the acknowledgement that his work was never about one man, but about the people he represented and the ideals he championed. Pope Francis was known for his personal interactions with people from all over the world. Whether it was his impromptu visits to communities in need or his constant focus on listening to those who felt unheard, Pope Francis demonstrated time and time again that leadership is not about commanding from on high, but walking alongside those you serve.